Welcome to today's episode of Shape Unplugged. I am your host, Stephanie Morris, CEO of Shape America, and today it is my great pleasure to have three amazing, esteemed guests with us today. They all happen to be past presidents of Shape America. I have Dr. Fran Cleland, Professor Emeritus at Westchester University, Dr. Jackie Lund, Professor Emeritus at Georgia State University, and Judy LoBianco, President and CEO of HPE Solutions. So yes, as you all can imagine, we're going to have a lot of fun in today's conversation. I can't wait for all the questions coming their way. And I am so grateful to the three of these amazing past presidents, all of whom I've had the amazing opportunity to serve with on the Shape America board. Thank you so much to the three of you for being here, being our guests today. And I'll just take a minute and let you all say a quick hello to our audience, starting with Fran.
Sure. Hey, Shape America membership. You can come visit anytime. I live in Southern California and I have room for guests, and I only live 4 miles from the ocean. And I'm really excited to be able to share some thoughts about our past presidencies with Jackie and Judy and my time on the Shape America board, and hope you learned something.
Fantastic. Thank you, Fran and Jackie. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for being a guest.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a great opportunity to interact with members. I don't get a chance to do that very often, just at the national convention. I also have moved south for my job, and I'm only 4 blocks from the ocean. So I guess the 2 past presidents here have all had sort of the same mindset, but it's great to be here, and I look forward to having the conversations this afternoon.
Fantastic. I'm sensing a theme here. So Judy,
Yes.
Let's go to you.
Hey everybody, it's Judy, and I have to tell you, I'm so excited to be with these three outstanding leaders. You know, this brings back a lot of fantastic memories, right? And I'm reliving a very important and grateful part of my life. And I too am at the Jersey Shore, right around the corner from the beach. And right now, actually, I'm vacationing in Myrtle Beach. So the beach is definitely a theme for the three of us. So really excited to have this chat today and grateful to see my friends.
I am so here for that. I am not at the beach. I would, if I were with one of the three of you right now, but I am so happy for the three of you that you are. And that said, let's jump right on into the questions for today's podcast. As I mentioned, each of you have served as a past president of Shape America and have had the opportunity to make a tremendous impact on the course of our national health and physical education history in our country. When you look back and think about your time on the Shape America board, what stands out for you as something that you are most proud about in terms of the board service and or Shape America? Really could be anything. Fran, why don't we start with you?
Okay, wow. One of the first things I thought of when I read that question was how much I was able to learn from the other people on the board. Obviously, a leader tries to pull ideas out of their board. And I think that's one of the things I enjoy doing as an individual, as a leader, trying to get ideas and thoughts from our entire board so that we can really think differently and diversely. So that's one of the things that I think I was able to do as the president of the board. Also, and I'll segue a little bit with Jackie in a moment, but one of the other things that I did while serving as president was trying to articulate what this phrase 50 million strong meant, because that was that preceded my presidency. And I took that idea and sort of morphed it into what does it mean to be a 50 million strong teacher? And of course, I'm going to sort of reveal my age here, but I used a Seinfeld Kramer Cosmo sort of analogy of levels. And if you ever saw that episode, please go see it. It's awesome with the levels of Kramer's apartment. But I took the chance to go around to different states and talk to teachers about what does it mean to be a level 1 teacher, a level 2 teacher, level 3, level 4. So in a way, so that we can address the 50 million children in our country. Let's really examine our pedagogy. Let's really examine our teachers. You may not be a level 4 in every aspect of your profession, and all levels are fine because we all fluctuate from one level to the other. So I articulated that and shared it with folks across the country. And so that's what I feel was probably my contribution, in addition to what I'll piggyback on with Jackie.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing, Fran. And Jackie.
Well, Stephanie, as you remember, I was the president that hired you. So that was one memorable moment and experience. But the thing I'm most proud of, assessment, I realized early on in my career the importance of assessment and accountability for getting teachers to learn. And so my dream was to have the physical education equivalent of FitnessGram. And I was involved with the profession during the 80s when we struggled with defining what fitness meant. And there's all kinds of different flexibilities that we could identify. There's motor performance and so on. And they finally came to consensus. It wasn't perfect, but it was a good start. And I wanted to have the same thing for Shape America with regard to the physical skills, the motor skills that kids were learning. And so by the time I became president, I knew Fran was my president-elect. And I also knew that this project was going to take more than 1 year to get through. And so I appointed a committee that would work on motor skill performance. We were working with another group at the time for cognitive assessments, so those were never done. But we came up with a document that outlined what a K2 student should be, be able to do, what a grade 3-5 student should be able to do, the middle school, 6-8, and the high school. And they weren't comprehensive. They were representative. They were something that teachers could do, kind of quick and dirty, but meaningful. And my goal was not necessarily just to give these assessments, but also to have teachers provide the data, much like they used to do with FitnessGram, and then use the demographics. So, for instance, if a program only had physical education once a week, they probably weren't going to meet these assessments, and that's fine. We needed to know that because we needed to have some data to provide evidence and convince principals, administrators, school boards that more time in physical education was needed. We also wanted to track class size, number of minutes that the classes met, and different demographic variables. Was the teacher certified? Was the teacher not certified? So on. So that, I think, was my big contribution. And I sincerely thank Fran for her willingness to go along with my crazy idea. Because 1 year is just too short. It's a long time when you're sitting in the presidency, but when you're trying to get projects accomplished, it just doesn't last long enough. So it's me.
True words, Jackie. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Judy.
So when I look at these three powerful women that were presidents at a time when Shape America was in a pivot, really, I'm thankful for the three of us and for Stephanie, because, basically Stephanie and you and I were freshmen and just experiencing, the newness of being leaders in Shape America. And I remember you took me for a retreat for a leadership purpose. And it really opened my eyes to what servant leadership really is. And it became that I became a really intent listener around my tour around the country as president-elect and president. And I think what I most remember about my presidency is pulling an empty chair to the table when we actually had physical board meetings, and pulling the Shape America staff to the table in such a way that it meant that we are all in this together. And when the board meets and discusses and decides and analyzes and does all those important things that these board members do that a lot of people don't realize on a regular basis how hard we work, it was important for me to remind everybody that in the discussions, everybody should have a voice, every board member. And if I didn't hear from one board member, I called them out and said, I haven't heard from you. And we would make decisions in that way. And I would always remind people, if the conversation takes us away from the member on the ground or the teacher on the ground, or doesn't relate to the teacher in the gym or the health teacher in the classroom, let's renegotiate what it is we're looking to actually do here in the short time that we have together. And that builds a strategic plan and builds into some great opportunities, right? And so the three of us sitting here, we pivoted this organization in such a way that we would be ready for anything that came. And boy, did it go that way, right? Because COVID came shortly after. So yeah, I would say that I'm most proud of the work we did collectively as leaders to be able to focus on the teacher on the ground.
Thank you so much, Judy. Really meaningful words from all three of you. And I really appreciate your willingness to share, as I'm sure our listeners do. So let's pivot a little bit to when you look back over the course of your time in this amazing field of health and physical education, what do you think has changed or not the most over the last few decades? I mean, thinking big trends and topics. And Fran, let's go back to you for this one.
Okay. Well, as I think about that question, one of the things that comes to mind is that we are now really trying to educate the whole child. Educating the whole child has been around for a long, long time. However, I think in physical education, it's challenging to do that. But now we're really looking at not just the psychomotor child or the moving child, but the thinking and the feeling child. And to that end, being on the task force to revise our national standards, we really have to look at how our students interact with each other and what those behaviors look like in terms of physical education, as well as how do they feel about movement themselves. So their personal reflections and introspection about movement. So teaching the whole child, I think, is much more so in the forefront these days, even though it's been around for quite some time. And the other thing that I think has changed a lot is the notion, philosophical approach of meaningful physical education. I definitely have not been on the pioneer forefront of that, but I read a lot in the last few years about meaningful PE. And when I first read about it, I thought, oh, this is awesome. All teachers should really try to understand this concept and the components of it, because basically it's just good teaching. It's really just good teaching. But there are some characteristics and components of it that are quite different than what we've done in the past. And that is giving students agency, really involving them in the curricular choice process, and also getting students to reflect on what they experienced during physical education class, so the teacher can be informed and make changes in the future. So overall, the two things I think that have changed a little bit is teaching the whole child and considering how to change my pedagogy to implement meaningful physical education.
Really interesting. Thank you so much for sharing, Fran. A lot of the things you talked about and reflected on make me think about good parenting skills as well, right? In many ways,
Right.
What we talk about today. Jackie, we'd love to hear from you.
Well, I'll piggyback on what Fran said. I was on the committee that wrote the first set of standards, and we were, Judy Young was our executive director and leading us at that time with the organization called NASPE. At that time, the organization was built around 6 different organizations. And Judy was listening to what was going on in the regular education community. And we had a committee that was actually going to write assessments for the outcomes document, which was published in 1992. And she started hearing about standards, and she was thinking that the outcomes document looked very, very much like standards that the other content areas were talking about. And so the committee changed from doing just assessments to writing the national standards. And we weren't up on all of the literature and all of the things that were happening in education at that time. And so we had to get up to speed really quickly. And the original committee that was set to write this standards, there was a difference of opinion about what they should look like. And one of the members of the committee wanted very much for the assessments to be all skill test. And, you skill test the volleyball serve, or you skill test this, and so on, and more of a closed sort of a way to look at skill, where the rest of us were looking at it more holistically and how things would come together. And we took our collective discussion and created 7 standards that represented what we thought children should be able to do in physical education, what they should know, and then how they should behave or act during games, with the being a good sports person, being kind to others, and playing within the rules. All of that stuff that through the physical, which actually was something that had happened, was a philosophy very important in the early 1900s. It was manifested through these standards. And it's amazing how the people in 1910, Clark Hetherington, was a visionary enough to come up with ideas and concepts that people would hold near and dear to their hearts almost 100 years later. The standards, I think, changed how we looked at things, and it helped give people guidance. I remember the first conference that we gave and about introducing the standards to the profession. And hopefully teacher educators have been able to go out and share with their students what these standards meant. And so that we have been able to identify a body of knowledge for physical education. The second way that I think physical education has changed, and when I started in the profession back in 1969, became a member, we were the American Alliance for Health, Physical Education, and Recreation. Dance was later added to that thing. And over the years, there's been spin-offs. And for instance, sport management spun off from NASP, and it started off from a very, very small group to its own organization now. And I remember asking questions about that, and they said, no, that's good, because we want to grow these different areas. And so over the years, the organization has changed, and we used to be able to network better, I think, with recreation and the sports people and the coaches and this. And, they've all spun off athletic training. They've all spun off and developed their own fields. And now what's left is just core, that we concentrate just on health and physical education teachers. So I think that through the course of my career, that has been a huge change about how we do business.
Really interesting to hear. Thank you, Jackie. Judy.
Yeah, so listening to my colleagues talk about this, I think about the teacher that I was in 1992 when I came out of college. And I realized to myself, I really sucked at it. I was horrible compared to the way that teachers are asked to teach today, right? And one of the major changes has to do with not only the transition from fear-based health to skill-based health, right? But from physical education being about how many baskets you can make to being competent and confident about what you're doing in PE and feeling as if you belong there no matter what skill level you are, right? So that you're able to internalize the joy of physical activity for the rest of your life, right? So I think that over the course of 30 years, I've been excited about the way that physical education health has changed. I'm happy that it's changed, right, in some ways. And I'm happy about the way that teachers are watching us evolve, because as you get older, you do this professional development, so you're at the top of your game, but you can't forget these children are still 5 years old and 8 years old and 12 years old and 17 years old, and watching their society evolve in a way that is so tech savvy, to the extent to which I don't know what the next 10 years will bring. And so I think that it's not just about the changes that have taken place in the profession, but a teacher's ability to be flexible and responsive to those changes. I got the administrator hat on right now. I apologize, everybody. But your ability to be flexible and responsive to those changes, so that we can do what's very best for kids. Because at the end of the day, if we don't have a thoughtful, caring, loving adult in that classroom, we can't teach health education and physical education. So in terms of the way we've changed, there's been a lot of change. And I think it's been a good thing, and the evolution has been a good thing. And it really becomes a situation where, as long as we can say we've got a cadre of teachers that acknowledges that and rolls with that flexibility, I think we're in a very, very good place.
Thank you so much, Judy, for sharing that. It makes me feel excited for all of it too. And so on that positive note, I love that transition opportunity. What is your biggest hope for the health and physical education community and for our students as we move forward? Fran.
Whoa, it's a big one. I hope for a lot of things. One of the first things that comes to mind is that our organization grows in membership, and that the teachers across the country, the 200,000 some teachers, really see the value in Shape America and all the opportunities for professional development, for networking, for collegiality, and for keeping their sense of desire to be the best teacher alive. You have to surround yourself by good people, by people that are doing what you're doing. So trying to encourage people to sort of take that risk and go to the convention to become a member, I think is huge. So advocacy, I guess, would be one of the things. The other would be, and now I'm going to piggyback back on Jackie's answer, or her answer about what she did while she was on the board, is documenting learning in physical education and in health education in order to get more time for physical education, in order to provide more learning opportunities. We need to document what our kids know, what they can do, and how they feel about what they're doing. So I think future assessment projects, I think, are going to be happening since we have new standards. We'll be redoing PE metrics, and I'm hoping to engage some professionals that are really experts in that area. And so those are the two things that I think of.
I love that. Thank you, Fran. And of course, it was really a great opportunity for you to speak with your other hat, right, as Shape America's book acquisition and production manager. So we appreciate that as well, which is really exciting. And Jackie, we'd love to hear from you on this subject.
Well, Fran took the words out of my mouth. I'm not sure why I'm going after Fran, because she is so eloquent, but anyway, yeah, I want to see the profession grow. I want, instead of having decreased amounts of physical education, I want to see more physical education. I want to see teachers engaged. And I also think that there's a body of people that we need to pay attention to. We talk about our young professionals and the way to build the organization, but there's a teaching shortage going on right now, and teachers are not being trained traditionally. And I think that the weak standards of teacher training right now, they don't have all the knowledge that they need. And so I would like to see us target that group a little bit more, and let principals know through the A+ project, or however it gets named, what students should be learning, and then say to these teachers, this is what our physical education program should look like. Let's have some professional development. Let's Shape America offer some workshops and some training that you can go to that will improve your skills and make it a better experience for kids. Because we know that if students learn how to do it, and if they're competent, they're going to be more likely to be active throughout a lifetime. And I think that, I've spent 50 years in this profession trying to encourage kids to get active. And I think that is the best testimony to quality physical education that we can.
Amen.
Well said, Jackie. Thank you so much. And Judy.
Yeah, my hope for the profession, that's a little big. All right. That's a little big, Stephanie. So I'm going to come back as the administrator in a school district, right? And say that my hope is for every teacher of health and physical education is to check in with their why quite regularly. And that's not something that administrators do to make you feel like you're doing a task that's not important. I think your why is as important as it was when you graduated college, as it is the day you retire. And you've got to calibrate that why. It's a calibration exercise for you. And the why always has to be about kids. And in that, I would say that my hope for the profession is that each of our health and physical education teachers listening and our college level professionals remembers that we are certified professional experts in this field that know more than anybody else knows about how to get this done in the schools. And we are the advocate and the voice of each of these children, and that the work we are doing is a matter of life and death for them. That is my hope for every educator, to step into their buildings feeling that empowered about the work that they do and are advocates about that work.
Really well said, Judy. Thank you so much. And no one taught that to me better than you, and the opportunity to visit so many of the amazing teachers and classrooms that I had the opportunity to visit with you in New Jersey. So thank you all very, very much. I've also had the opportunity to speak with each of you about the importance of our younger professionals and students and getting them engaged with their state and their national organization. What words of advice do each of you have for those who are listening today, who are younger professionals, emerging leaders? What words of advice would you give them directly if you were talking to them about why it's so important to get engaged and be involved? Fran.
Well, I immediately start thinking about individuals who are majoring in health and physical education at the university level. And I taught, as we know, at Westchester University, and we had a lot of autonomy in our health and physical education program. And so within one of our courses, we required national membership. In one of our foundation courses, we required state membership. And we made sure that we wove assignments into the course that directly connected the university kids with the Shape America website, and opportunities to look at webinars, to look at exchange, all the different vehicles that they could connect with, and show them the importance of staying connected outside of their coursework. I think also taking students to conventions, presenting with them as university professors is very important. So I was very grateful that I was able to do that with Westchester University students, both at the state and the national level. And I think also networking and getting those young professionals to get to meet Jackie Lund, get to meet Judy LoBianco. Judy and Jackie were both guest speakers via Zoom, and Judy in person several times. I just jump on it. I'm going to get the National PE Teacher of the Year to Zoom with us on Monday night. Joe Bailey, Andy Meal, and it goes on and on and on. Terry Drain. So I think university professors cannot be insular. They need to really think about how many, irons in the fire they can have, and they need to introduce these young professionals to the big picture of being a professional and a teacher of this field.
I love it. Thank you so much, Fran. And Jackie.
Well, I agree with Fran. It starts at the state association, and the teacher educators are key in getting kids to go. It's expensive, and a lot of the teacher educators do fundraisers and help supplement the kids to go to conferences. Having been involved at the national level, we've got a lot of friends, and we look forward to that social connection. And physical educators are and health educators, excuse me, I didn't mean to ignore them as well. But we're social people, and I go to conventions and get my quota of hugs for the year post-COVID. But it's just nice to get together and catch up with people and find out what's going on with their lives. I think that the analogy for why you need to be part of this and why you need to engage with a larger group than yourself comes from the campfire. And when you build a campfire, you put all the logs, the kindling, and everything together, and it gets hotter and hotter and hotter as all those pieces come together. If you want to put a fire out, you just scatter the logs. And I use that analogy to talk about coming back and renewing yourself, going to conferences, going to workshops, going and doing things with people. And you've got to keep that spark. You've got to keep that fire hot. And what a better way to do it than through the professional development we have available.
I love the campfire analogy. Thank you, Jackie. And Judy.
Yeah, this theme of, you're never alone, right? Build that professional learning network. You're never alone, whether it's online or in person or both, which I'd prefer. Membership is a must. We shouldn't even be talking about that, right? The advantages of being a Shape America member led me right to the doorstep of the presidency, right? So I think it's extremely important that we learn that this has got to be a way of life for you. And as an undergrad, you'll learn quickly that we have to advocate, and that's part of our job. And your certificate might say it, but yes, leadership is part of who you are. And this profession itself lends itself to being the very best leaders in a school. I'd also say, what are you so afraid of making mistakes for? You're human. Make mistakes. Failure is good. It leads you into something better. And admitting your mistakes and owning them is even better, right? It's okay because you've got plenty of people around you to lift you up. You are never alone in this profession from the moment you start in your universities and colleges. So don't be afraid, because here I am at nearly the end of my career telling you that you are posturing to be among the very best educators to know what's coming next, because you're in a generation and a cadre of young people who grew up with and understand technology, right? You lived through a time when COVID might have shut some places down, but you were very comfortable with being able to pivot into classrooms and pivot into technology. This is your time. This is your time. And the torch is being sent directly to you from me and from all of us to step up and be leaders in this profession. You can do it. You've got this. And that's my message.
Awesome.
I've got one more thing to say from my mother. She used to say, there's lots of room at the top because the bottom's full. So try to get to the top.
Love it.
I love it. So inspirational. The three of you are amazing, and I could not be more grateful to you for your time and for being guests on today's Shape Unplugged. Thank you both. Thank you all so much. Any final words that you want to offer up to our listeners today? Fran.
See you in Cleveland.
Jackie?
I'll be in Cleveland too.
I love it. And Judy, bring us home.
Bringing you home with gratefulness, gratitude for you, Stephanie, and that hardworking staff at Shape America, who nobody sees them, nobody knows they're alive, nobody knows they're there. But guess what? This organization would not be what it is without the hardworking group of people who are alongside us every single day, from publishing to social media to advocacy to marketing. Stephanie, you are leading such an incredible crew. The three of us know because we've worked with them quite closely. So we don't want to forget about them. A huge shout out to you and a gratefulness to the Shape America staff.
Thank you so much. I know that means so much to them. I am incredibly lucky as a CEO to have the amazing team that we do at Shape America. And I am incredibly fortunate to have been able to be mentored and guided and learn from the three of you in our time. So thank you again for being guests on Shape Unplugged. To everyone listening, thank you so much for your time and joining us today. And I hope that you tune in again next time.
Thank you.
Bye.